Hey y'all, this is TCA Gaming. This video is brought to you pretty much by Ike. He said, hey man, I want to learn more about these errors. Can you make a video? And I started to try and make a video for all the WotC era errors, and I realized, you know what, it's going to take a lot more than just, me sitting down and trying to do one video covering all of them. So for this one, we're going to cover the worst of them all, base set. And in this video, we're not going to be focusing on cards like this, where you have an ink bubble that, appears on the card, and it could appear again on some other card. It may even appear in the exact same place, the exact same size and color on another water energy. But these are very common. Some of them have received some merit, like there is a Chansey with a heart up top, and then there's or it's not a Chansey, it's a Clefairy with a heart right above his name, and then there's a Chansey with a dot down in there, and there's actually a Blastoise that I will show you. But for the most part, we're not going to focus on print dots. Next up, we're not going to focus on cards that were corrected in a different printing issue. So if you look at this Vulpix, it is pretty famously known to have HP 50 instead of 50 HP. However, there was a corrected version, 50 HP. You can see it right there. There's the difference. But this was only done in a completely different print run, 1999-2000. So people seek after this one just for that reason. But if you're going to collect all the different variants anyways, you're going to go and get all of the 1999-2000 dated base set cards, which has its entire set. I mean, there's a card, every single one of them dated 1999-2000. But all Vulpix that are dated 1999-2000, to my knowledge, are corrected, and all that are not corrected. This video, we're just to touch on that again, we're not going to talk about cards like you see right here with this Kakuna. If you look here in underneath the title, it says length. That was on a complete print issue for Shadowless, whereas when it was changed over to the shadowed version, it was corrected to length weight. And you can also see that with the Shadowless print run, if you are familiar with it, the energies were not centered well, almost always. And there were other small errors like that. Another one, you've got the Voltorb down here in the description. On the corrected version, it says for a Pokeball, it is that many people, but on the original Shadows version, mistaken for a Monster Ball. And there are other cards too, like the Bulbasaur with the HP, Weedle, and I'm pretty sure there's more of them. We are also not going to focus on cards that have been severely miscut. Like you can see, if you look at these from the front side, they look completely normal, but on the back side, they were printed, definitely not aligned with the front. This one, these both show 4 cards. A lot of times, if you bought theme decks, that was the best way to get these, because the entire deck would have all the cards miscut like that. And I believe I have 20 from one of the decks that I bought off of someone else. And then last, we are also not going to cover things like foil shifts, because again, these are really just typically one-off type deals. You can see right here where the holographic on the Hitmonchan and the Alakazam is shifted off. These are highly sought after types of errors among collectors, because you can't just find them and they're very, very rare. However, it's not something that was produced over and over and over again. Alright, so the first one we're going to go into is water energy, the most basic error that you can find. In fact, I believe the error is a lot more common than the corrected version, which is right here. So if you're wondering what the heck is the difference, look at these two energies. You can see that this one has good, well-centered text right there between the yellow and the bottom of that blue. See the space over here? This one does not. It almost touches the top. You can see right there, there's no space in that area, whereas there's a little bit right here. So for the most part, this is an easy to find error. You don't have to spend much. In fact, you could probably go buy 10 energies from Troll and Toad and you'd get both of them. Next up, this is one that's not really recognized, but it did have one print issue as far as I know of, and there's some on Shadowless as well, and first edition Shadowless, depending on what types of rarity this is. But on commons, there were many cards that had no sheen. If you look at this, there's no sheen on the card itself. The border stands out a little bit more, but it still doesn't have the same glossy effect that one of these cards would. So let's pull this one out so I can show it to you here. You can see that extra gloss all the way across the card, whereas this one just does not have that. And you can get those for the entire common print run on the unlimited side. I believe with like first edition and Shadowless, it might be limited to maybe the rares. It's kind of weird how that was printed. So maybe that was just something that happened in one of the facilities. It's not really anything that many people collect. I collect them because you can get one of each of the common cards from base set, all the energies, trainers, and the Pokemon in a non-gloss form. In fact, it's the only Pikachu PSA 10 that I don't have from base set because I haven't had a chance to submit any of those. All right, next up, this was probably the second most common. You have a Diglett. This comes from a specific type of theme deck, and you can see right here, or maybe in the starter deck, right here, you can see the fighting energy is turned sideways. Usually not that hard to get. PSA 10s are under $100, so that should tell you something. I believe you could probably pick up a near mint copy for 20 to 40 bucks, depending on what time of the eBay year you're looking at, because I've never seen them really fluctuate more than $40 for a raw mint copy. So I would think that that would be the next easiest find. Here's one that recently come to light. It's been known for a while, however, it's just basically been forgotten or dismissed as a fake. Someone had brought this up to me in an email that I made a post on Instagram about one that I'd found. I'm actually looking for this in a PSA 10. So looking at these two different Beedrills, you may not notice it right away because it's too far away from the camera. So I'm going to zoom up. Now, if you look right here, it says d.efending, and this is d.efending. Now, this is one of those errors that you can't really, dismiss as, an ink blot or something that, like the Krabby Scratch error that may have just been something on the computer when they were overlaying the text or something like that. This, somebody actually put a period in there, and it had to be on a completely different print run because you've got your plates. This right here just wouldn't happen from throwing a dot in there because there's extra space. So this is a pretty cool error. I think there's gonna be a lot of people looking for this one now that it has come to light. It's definitely 100% legit a real card, unless somebody's gotten really, really good at printing fake cards and they decide to print a Beedrill with a dot in it. Who would do that? I don't know how rare it is. I think it is pretty rare, but we don't know value yet because there hasn't been much of a market for it. Next up, one of my favorites, we have the Wartortle Evolution Box Error. Now, if you look at the Evolution Box, you will see the problem. We have a Wartortle in the Evolution Box of Wartortle. It's supposed to be a Squirtle. I don't know how many of these are printed. It has turned up to be quite a bit more common than it was originally thought, because I tried finding one for a while, even offered up to $500 for one at one point, and I still couldn't get any takers. Now you can find them regularly for $200 or less. Next up, we have the Blastoise Red Dot. So this is one of the ink dots that I am going to show you in this one because it is repeated quite a bit, and there are some that actually have like just smears. So it's just this little tiny dot right above the water energy. See it right there? But you can see it over and over again. It comes up quite often, and there are people looking for this card. I only have a 9 in my collection. I need a 10, so I need to upgrade it, but it is not recognized by PSA. Next up, we have the No Stage Error. So check out this Blastoise. And then you look right up here. It does not have the word stage. It is smudged out. It is gone. It really surprises me that PSA recognizes it, but they do. And you can see that this one actually pulled a 10 miraculously. And there is a version where you can get them with square corners. I got this one off of none other than King Pokemon, but you can see it right there. And then it has the square corners as well. There are more of these out there. It's not just a one-off. Next up, this is the one that we're going to probably spend more time on than some of the others because there are so many different variants. I'm just going to actually show you every variant that I have for this card, at least that I can think of off the top of my head because I just pulled these all out of my boxes a few minutes ago. So we're going to start off with the basic Pikachu, Yellow Cheeks. This is Gem Mint 10. It's a regular $19.99 Pikachu. Next up, we have the $19.99 2000 Pikachu. Now, some of you have may picked up on it on the water energy. It was a little harder to see there, but it should be easier to see here. The $19.99 2000 has a bigger contrast between the border and the inside the border. In general, they're thought to be seen as lighter, and I can see it as well. So it's like when you're flipping through cards, if you're used to seeing shadowless, you can pretty much point out shadowless cards just by seeing a little edge of it. Well, if you get used to seeing $19.99 2000 cards for base set, you can tell the difference between this one and this one without having to squint your eyes and look at the bottom and say, hey, this one says $19.99 2000, well, this one just says $19.99. Next up, we have another version. This is a shadowless Pikachu. So this is just like that one, but it doesn't have a shadow over here. It's got $19.99 at the bottom, off-centered there. There's some other text. Yeah, there's a lot of things different about it. This is shadowless set. If you're wondering, you know, what I'm talking about when I say shadowless, you know, I'm just referring to this edge right here. You can see it. It's got a shadow here. This one doesn't. It was just to give a 3D effect. This was printed before this one. I mean, you got to remember these guys are probably rocking the 1998 Windows. They didn't have a whole lot to work with. Next up, here's another shadowless Pikachu. This one is Gem Mint 10 as well, just like the others, except he has red cheeks. Check it out. No red cheeks, red cheeks. People like the red cheeks. Goes for a premium. Next up, we have another shadowless Pikachu, but you know what's different about it. So if you're looking at this one and you're looking at this one and you work at PSA, you say they're the exact same, but they're not. This one is actually even more lighter than any of these other Pikachus because it was printed on Japanese stock. It was given out in the Best of Game CD, I believe that's what it was called, or Best Song, not Best of Game. It was the Best Song CD come out in Japan, so it's got Japanese stock. It was released with 10 other cards in a pretty cool CD thing that plays Japanese music. I tried listening to it and I didn't understand any of it, so I didn't really enjoy it. But there is a Pikachu stuck in the back of every one of them. Got this little plastic seal that's not really sealed. It's got a piece of tape on it. And these are really easy to grade because it has Japanese stock. I mean, you go around the back side of this thing, you can see it's just immaculate. And if you look at it under light, you can actually see there's a bit of a difference in the stock in the way that this has a double printed yellow border. This is not printed the exact same way. Has almost like a gloss to it. And then if you hold a flashlight up to each one of these cards, this, if you have a really strong light, you might be able to see it behind it. However, if you put a light on the back side of this and you're holding it up with your fingers, you can actually make out the shape of your fingers through the card. It's translucent because it's going to be, it's like I said, it's a different stock other than that one. Alright, so we're still working on Pikachu, not done yet. Next up we have the E3 Red Cheeks Shadowless Pikachu. Just like the Red Cheek Shadowless Pikachu, except it has an E3 gold stamp right there. And again, this really isn't an error. The only one of these Pikachus that technically isn't like an error is like that one right there because it was corrected in the same print run. This was printed that way. That one was, you know, just fine. So was the 1999-2000. And this one, there is a gold E3 stamp Pikachu. In fact, I left that one off to the side. That would be cool, I guess, if I'd shown that one too in with this video. In fact, maybe I'll just pause this video and go grab that one really quick so I can show you. And I'm back. So actually I found two different other versions for the base set Pikachu. Yeah, base set Pikachu has a lot of different stuff. We're supposed to be talking about errors, but we might as well just show these as well. We got a PokeTour 1999 here. Look, I've only got an 8, so but these were released in Australia, if I believe. And, you know, they were all printed that way, the ones that were released. So that's not an error. And this technically is not an error either because all of the shadowless ones have red cheeks with the gold E3. And this one has the gold E3, but it's not shadowless. It was a different type of release. In fact, I think you can get this in a magazine. It was an insert for a flyer. It was mounted on a flyer. You may have been able to get some other ways. I'm not really too sure on the background of all this. I know this one, I believe, was on the West Coast at E3. Again, but you could get this as sealed, so it's not too hard to get in a Gem Mint 10 if you do have it. But we're still going through the Pikachus, and we've only really seen one of them that's an error so far, and that's Shadowless Unlimited Red Cheeks Pikachu. Now we're on the first edition. We have this unlimited, or this first edition Yellow Cheeks Gem Mint 10 Pikachu from first edition base set. Nothing more to say really than, hey, you're looking at the Shadowless Pikachu, and you throw a first edition stamp on it. It was the very initial part of the Shadowless print run. And then here we go, we have a Red Cheeks first edition Gem Mint 10 Pikachu. So the only difference between this one and this one is you got the red cheeks. How many Pikachus are we up to now? We're probably working close to 10. Now there is one variant that is a true error that people really like to go for. Probably the hardest one to get in Gem Mint 10 because PSA no longer grades them. We have the Ghost Pikachu. The Ghost Pikachu is I think that was brought up by Rock Carolina, Brian at Rock Carolina. It may have been discovered before that, but if it was, it really wasn't public. He had bought a collection, and he found 4 of these stuck together. So he thought that, or he concluded that they probably come from the Zap theme deck, and that's why you guys saw me crack a $900 deck just to try and look for this card, and it was a dud. But if you still can't see the error, it's probably because, again, I haven't let you get close enough. You see it right there. It's a partial first edition stamp. It is E, there's no D, and then there's I-T-I-O-N. And then there's no 1 there. So it's like a partial first edition stamp. And you can call it Phantom Pikachu, you can call it Ghost Pikachu. I think those are the only two. I call it Ghost Pikachu, and I like that. That's what I had them label up there. But Phantom Pikachu is basically the exact same thing. Really cool card to have. And there's one error I haven't shown you yet. I wanted to finish off with the Pikachus, but I thought this one should top it off. It should be last because it's my favorite and by far probably the toughest to get in Gym at 10. We've got the No Damage Ninetails. PSA won't grade this anymore. I'm very upset about that. So PSA, if you see this, please contact me. I would like to talk with you about it, even though I don't think you really care, because basically all the big Pokemon people have talked with them about this, and they're not really doing anything about it because it's just Pokemon, and I don't think they have experts there that really can verify it. So it's understandable. They don't want to put their name on the line for something they don't really know. I get it. But they used to grade it, so it is kind of contradictory. Now, if you look at this, it has a blank spot right here for this 4 energy attack. Fire Blast, discard 1 fire energy and card attached to Ninetales in order to use this attack. But what does it do? It's supposed to do 80 damage, but the 80 is missing. Very tough to get because the only way you could get this card now is if you, like if it's not already in a collection somewhere, scratched stuff, or been stepped on and rubbed around the floor, is if you open it up from a theme deck, because it doesn't come in packs. As far as we know, it comes only from a theme deck. And I have a theme deck to verify that that is where it has come from. So as long as that's the only place it comes from, it's never going to get another 10 coming from a deck, because the theme decks, they have this issue with glue on the front. So any deck that was sealed back in the day that's still sealed now, those front cards, which is going to be the Ninetales, the holographic very front, it's going to have this massive, ugly glue strip down the middle. So there's no way it's going to get a Gym at 10. I believe there is one 10 out there, or known, at least one known. It come up for sale. Somebody snagged it for like $6,500 really quick. I wish I'd seen it. I would have bought it. Well, I might not have, because it's been a while back and that was a lot of money. But I guarantee he sticks it on the market now, 5 figures, no problem, because there's so many error collectors out there, and this is pretty much the pinnacle of the errors, and a lot of people know about it. There's people who just collect this card, go for every piece that they can that whenever it comes up. I have multiple copies myself because it is so tough to get. I mean, you can see my highest copy is a 7.5. I've had a 9 before. I sold it foolishly, and now it's gone, and now I'm stuck with a 7.5 from BGS, which, you know, that could be like a 4, who knows. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know what you think, if I missed out on anything, and if I did, just put it down in the comments, because like I said, I'm kind of doing this on impromptu, and it's getting closer to the end of the day. That's why I'm talking a little faster than normal. But I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching.